Okay, so I just got off the call with one of my runners, and we're talking about pre-race. He has a trail half marathon coming up this weekend, and one thing he mentioned was not getting in the hot tub before the race, the evening before, and um, that brought up an interesting, reminded me of an interesting paper I once read, where it looked at dehydration on one day, and I believe they used hot water immersion dehydration on one day and how it affected a workout 24 hours later. And it found that 24 hours or whatever it was, I'm not going to look up the study, but what they found was that previous day dehydration does impact next day workouts. And so 24 hours the next day isn't enough. And so this is something to keep in mind when you're doing something like a hot afternoon or evening easy run, even an easy run. If you dehydrate yourself, it can still impact your next days, and potentially 2 days later could still impact a workout or a race that you do a day or two after getting dehydrated in during a run, or jumping in the hot tub, or hanging out in the sauna. So just something to keep in mind.
All right, so I want to tell you how I paced a recent 5K that was uphill for the first half and then downhill for the second half. It can be a little tricky. Speed is, if you go by, I want to hit this speed for my race, this pace. It's a little tricky doing that with an uphill or a hilly event or a course like that. But what I did is I used power. So you can get a power meter for a foot pod. My Coros here measures power or wattage. It's just a made up number, but it's kind of like a Strava grade adjusted pace. And so that way, going out for that first half of the uphill 5K, I maintained roughly 10K wattage. And so I was definitely holding back. And so that it allowed other people to pass me. I got passed on that first half, but I was able to get to the second half for that net downhill second half feeling really strong. I didn't expire. And so I repassed a number of people, and I felt good for that second half. And so that's how I usually recommend pacing a race that's uphill out, downhill back, is really hold back for that first uphill section. Use wattage if you have the option. Heart rate can be okay, pace can be okay, and then get to the top of that out and back, really feeling good, and then crush it on the way home. Okay, so it's 80 some degrees, pushing a stroller. There's a kid in there as well. And the best way to make sure your easy runs are easy, pushing a stroller in the heat, on hills like I'm on right now, you gotta walk sometimes. I'm a sub-3 marathoner, and I still walk when it's appropriate, and it's appropriate during easy runs. I set a heart rate for 150 beats per minute, and if I hit that, which I just did, I go into a walk. No big deal. Keep your easy runs easy, and you're gonna feel better. You're gonna be able to run more consistently, more frequently, by nailing your true easy runs. However you go about doing that, get it done. All right, just got back from a tempo progression run, and I wanted to give you a little quick recap of kind of what I watch on my GPS, how I use my GPS typically during races and workouts. And how it works is I usually have it auto lap every mile. And on my screen here, I have my current lap average pace. And so, I'm really paying attention. I go into the workouts, like today I did a tempo progression run. I had goal paces for all three of the tempo miles. And every minute or two I glance down, make sure I'm in that range. And so that's really what I'm looking at, is I have my distance on there, and then the current lap average. So the best app to get started with your running, I'm going to be a bit cheeky here, and I'm going to say the Final Surge app, which I use to prescribe training
strength work, rest days, meditations, gratitude practices, and check-ins to my clients, the runners I coach. That's the best app. The best training plan is the one that follows you, is appropriate to you and your needs and all that good stuff. So that's my answer, and I know it's not the one you're exactly looking for. Um, I I don't know your exact fitness abilities, your schedule, all this good stuff. Couch to 5K is a great option, and if that's a little easy for you, probably just selecting like some running 5K plan through an app, Nike, etc., could be a good option as well. Yes, pre-run nutrition can be confusing, and I like to keep it super simple. So if it's a morning run, easy, not a long run, have some coffee, glass of water. If you want to complicate things, hey Jasper, then complicate, that's not the right word. Have a banana or a bagel or a PB&J, and honestly, like, sometimes I eat it as I walk out the front door here. Like if I have a morning run, I have my 1 cup of coffee, 1 glass of water, and maybe a banana, maybe a bagel, PB&J, an apple, whatever. And I often have it as I walk out the door. It's fine. If I'm doing a hard run, I'm still giving myself 2 miles of warming up. That's still 20, 30 minutes before I actually start any hard running. And so that's kind of my go-to. If you want to chat more, feel free to let me know. Okay, just finished up a tempo progression run, and I wanted to give you a reminder about how I use my GPS watch for these types of workouts. And the GPS watch isn't so much meant to speed me up, but it's to slow me down. And my goal for the workout was an easy couple miles, and I was feeling kind of brisk this morning. It was pretty chilly out, so I really had to consciously pay attention to my speed and slow down. And Jasper. And then when I got into the workout portion, again, it's pretty cold out this morning compared to what it's been. So I really had to use my watch to slow down. And I had my goal paces, 5K pace plus 45 seconds for the first mile, plus 30 seconds for the second mile, and plus 15 seconds for the third mile. And I really had to pay attention, viewing my current lap average, current speed for that mile. Watching that every minute or so, I just glanced down, and I was constantly telling me to slow myself down. And that's really how I usually use my GPS watch during races, during workouts, is to make sure I'm in that appropriate pace range. But usually it's to make sure I'm slowing down into that range, so I'm staying at a sustainable effort for the entire duration to maintain my stamina throughout for the end. Okay, so where to start as a new runner? Okay, so if you were to come to me for coaching, we would start with probably like a run walk routine. I don't know anything about your fitness. We would start doing less than what you maybe think you would start with. Something like a run walk routine, like the couch to 5K might be an option. It's a great option for many people. Maybe just some sort of like starting with a mile jog to make sure you're dialing in what easy running feels like. Especially as a new runner, all of your running should be at a really nice, easy conversational pace, conversational effort. We would also do a lot of strength work, get you stronger now while your training load and volume is still low. So in a month, in 2 months, you're stronger. Okay, so I have that exact same vest actually. And I get it that having the bladder in the back up top is kind of annoying. I'm actually more annoyed by the tube that goes around, but I'm less annoyed by all that than I am by having to carry and ration a single handheld for 3 hours, or having to fill it up at some point. I prefer the vest. I love having all the storage for a couple Cliff Bars or whatever. anything I want, my phone, stuff like that. And one thing I will say is that try the the front soft flasks. I do find that I wouldn't race with the soft flasks up front, and I can tell you about that. That's a story. Um, but for my general training runs, I definitely prefer the soft flasks up front. So yoga is fantastic. I have most of my runners do at least one or two yoga routines on one or two of their rest days, their non-running days every week. And for what I plug in, I always start them with the Embark series from Breathe and Flow. It's a 7-day yoga series from YouTube, and I have them do 20 to 40 minutes of yoga during each session. And in my Final Surge library, I have a variety of instructors and durations and types of yoga. So it's not just yoga with Adrian for an hour every single time. Like, you can do 20 minutes, 15 minutes. It's a nice regenerative, rejuvenating activity. So there's so much on YouTube. Check it out. But I'm a big fan of Breathe and Flow and their yoga videos. So the question of, when is it safe to start running? One suggestion is called the hop test, where, can you hop on one leg with confidence and without discomfort or pain for 30 seconds? If you can do that, you could probably go for a run. And if you were being coached by me, I'd probably have you do a 1 mile walk jog of a minute walk, a minute jog for a mile, with maybe a 5 or 10 minute walk, warm up, and cool down. During this period of rest that you are on, I would double down on strength work if it's something you haven't been doing. I'll link you to some general strength and mobility routines that I have my clients do on a regular basis. And if you're not running right now, which I don't think you are, now is the best time to start getting stronger. So heat, humidity, hills, snow, elevation, uh, um, being on your feet all day at work, not getting enough sleep, they all affect your ability to run at that perfect baseline. And anything that takes us away from that, you just slow down. I like to use heart rate or perceived exertion with the runners I coach and with myself. And I stress that, easy running, which should be almost all of your running, should be a feeling, and it should be, you're not out of breath. You can run with your mouth closed. You can run more consistently, more frequently with true, good, easy runs, and never try to force the pace because you're slowing down. You slow down. So when it comes to preventing heel injuries on your feet, if you're concerned about that, a few things, and I don't know exactly, if you're having issues currently, but running form, making sure you're not overstriding, landing, making ground contact with your foot, your shoe ahead of your knee. You want to make ground contact with your foot under your knee with a bent knee. A heel strike is okay. I like to say you want a glancing rear foot strike, not like a outstretched, straight-legged, massive heel strike. Having shoes that are comfortable and feel good is super important. You don't want footwear that presses in on the back of your heel, you don't want a shoe that presses in right there. And do strength work. Strength work is so underutilized. Okay, so my go-to post-workout hard run recovery meal is this protein milk from Silk. It's almond cashew milk with 10 grams of added pea protein. And I just fill up my coffee mug from before my run with it, drink it afterwards, and then do my strength work straight away. That's the way to do it. And then jump in the shower. And so it's a quick, easy, no mixing of a powder. It's cheaper than the powders.
I use it with my pancakes and made gravy for biscuits and gravy this morning for my wife. And it's just a nice, easy, quick way to get some post-workout protein and a little bit of carbs in before I kind of eat my main meal for the breakfast morning.
So the weird thing about sweating more like after the run than during is actually for a very good reason, and it's because your body continues to cool itself after a run. Like you're running, your body's cooling itself, and you stop running. But your body keeps cooling itself. That's why often you get really cold after a race. Is you see those space blankets they hand out after a marathon. That's because your body keeps cooling itself, and that's what sweating is. And when I did the Goggins challenge a couple of years ago, it was 4 miles every 4 hours for 48 hours. That's the thing that really caught me off guard was we would go do the run, it'd be fine, 4 miles isn't that far, and then we'd get home and then we'd really start sweating. So when it comes to the recovery period between intervals, it varies. Oftentimes, like my go-to intervals are 1K or 1 mile repeats, in which case I might do for 1Ks at like 10K pace, critical velocity. A minute recovery minute jog recovery between 1Ks, kind of when I'm closer to like racing fitness, but 2 minute recoveries earlier on in like the training campaign. 1 mile repeats might get 2 minutes or 3 minutes recovery, jogging recovery. Hill reps where it's like 30 to 2 minutes uphill, we'll just get a jog back down recovery. Fartleks might get 1 minute to 3 minutes between random reps. So the best running shoe for long distance running, I'm going to say the one that's most comfortable for you. And that's probably not the answer you're looking for, but that's the truth. As you're aware, you ask 100 people, you'll probably get 95 different answers. And it changes run to run. Most of my running that I do is done in the Atreyu original base model, but if I were to do a long tempo run in prep for a marathon, I was doing a lot of my long runs this winter, mostly spring, for Boston in the Nike 4%. Long trail runs, I do them in my Nike, what are they? Nike Wild Horse 5s. And so it just depends on which shoe fits the shape of your foot best, cushions you best, and feels best for you.